Hello, Omis. Welcome in to probably one of the most life-changing episodes we've ever recorded.
Go ahead and save this. Go ahead, copy the link, put it into your notes, download it off of YouTube, get this on your tab.
Engrave it on your grave, all the things. Today we are diving into I don't even really know where to start with this. There's just so much energy flowing through me. We are about to walk you through the 6 pillars of what we see as the freaking formula to aligning with a soul aligned life. We're also going to drop you into our personal definition of what a soul aligned life is, which I'm going to guess you may resonate with if you're listening to this podcast. And we really take you through these 6 pillars that have been every single thing we have learned on this path put into this beautiful, categories and pillars that we deem as the secret sauce to aligning with a life that feels like heaven on freaking earth.
Yeah. It's like if you were to ask us, run into us at dinner and you're like, hey, how'd you do it? What's your secret? We'd be like, so sit down because we got these 6 pillars. Literally, that's what this is.
Literally, yeah. And I will say, if you guys are signed up for the portal, or if you're going to sign up, which is our 6-month group program, if you guys haven't heard about it, we'll leave the link below and you can check out all the details. But I will say, if you guys are signed up or signing up, feel into what we are about to share in this episode, because this is essentially the 6-month phase-to-phase journey that we are going to be going on together in community, committed to over a 6-month period. So feel into that. Definitely take note with what's resonating with you and what your soul is kind of expanding you into, because that is going to really be a telltale sign with what your intentions are for that. But this episode is so freaking powerful. And we're recording this intro after just recording the actual episode. And I will say there were tears. There were moments of us having just these emotional waves of really understanding the potency of what it is we're sharing in this. So definitely feel free to get out a journal, to open your notes app, and to really sit with this one and let it hit you. This is not an episode you want to listen to on the go, unless maybe you're listening to it more than once. But sit back, take a deep breath, open up your heart, and enjoy. So I'm really just wanting to drop right into this and hear from you and your soul and your perspective. What is a soul aligned life to you, and what does that mean to you?
I love it. If you're not watching the video, I'm already dancing in my seat. Okay. A soul aligned life. First of all, what's coming to mind is that it's something that evolves and grows and changes and takes different form throughout your whole life. But what is the foundation of the soul aligned life is living in alignment, obviously, with the truest essence of who you are, but knowing that that truest essence will change and mold and shift over time, because we evolve and we are always changing and growing. And when I think about the feeling of it, the way it looks, the way it feels, is this life that every day waking up and knowing that the world is my oyster type of feeling, and also this deep presence and fulfillment and satisfaction with my life. Satisfaction actually now is really coming through, especially as a generator, and just that feeling that I squeeze the juice out of life every day, and that also the entirety of like my linear timeline of life is this flowing, beautiful, fun, expansive, but I'm really mining the gold that's inside of me every day, every week, through what I do, through my relationship, through my work, through my family. And it just comes with this feeling of pure expansion and freedom to dream, to be, to do, to have whatever I want. And it's very alive. It's very electric with moments of such deep stillness and presence and peace and looking out at nature or my cup of cacao in the morning and just mm, so, so beautiful. Everything is just beautiful.
Do you feel like there has been this journey of you tapping into this soul aligned life that has just kind of ramped up and escalated over the past few years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is to me too, it's I know that I'm young, right? In the grand scheme of things. So, in terms of the linear timeline, it's not like what I've unlocked is the foundation that now I feel the rest of my life is going to build from, or that there's more and more that will be uncovered. But yeah, over the last few years, especially, I would say the biggest transformations in terms of landing deeply into those core frequencies of peace, of love, of gratitude, of abundance really took hold in my being at a new level starting like a year ago when I was going through a bit of like a dark night in a way and
Mm.
really shifted and cleared some things out that now there's definitely I'm kind of at like a peak in a way of this current like odyssey of my life that I know is going to continue going. So it's not like I'm like, okay, I'm done, all good, like whatever. It's more like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, because we never stop
You never,
expanding as
right,
souls. And you and I both know that our reality is a reflection of who we be within. So the more you tap into your soul essence, which is inevitable, right? Like you're always going to be expanding,
right,
you're always going to be growing. So your life is meant to evolve and expand with that inner expansion,
right.
right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And it's basically, I think a soul aligned life is where you are at the arrival point of holding the paradox, which to me is I'm genuinely so happy and fulfilled with my life, which I feel like to say that at 28 and to just be like pretty fulfilled, but then also hold the paradox and duality of and there's so much more good to come. Like I haven't even had my first child yet. I haven't even done my first big like stage dream. Like that's
Mm.
all coming inevitably, but also I'm so good right now. And I could not say that a year ago. You know, like it brought like I was in a very state of resistance. So not to get too deep into all the side stories, but yes, absolutely. It has been a continuous journey really through my 20s after I had a spiritual awakening and then went on this whole path of of leaping into entrepreneurship and working for myself that then the spirituality really took off and then infused into my 3D existence of just being very at a baseline satisfied and fulfilled with my life.
Yeah, because it's almost like the more you connect in with that soul essence, doesn't really matter
Yeah.
what's around you because you're feeling so good from within, but it will naturally reflect the frequency you've tapped
Right.
into, which is what you're really drawing this beautiful picture of that paradox of being so at peace with the now because you're like how you said before, you're like most of your experience in life is created from within.
Yeah.
And that is a very special place to be in life because the world is your freaking oyster then. It's not
Right.
like, oh, all of this is happening and now I grant myself permission to feel this way. It's like you're understanding that this is an inner cultivation that's happening. And that's where you like reclaim your power, you reclaim your freedom, and life ultimately will reflect that inner world.
Yes. Okay, this is actually the last thing I'll say about my definition, then I want to hear yours. Because there's been this quote going on the internet that from this girl who wrote an article that said, and just listen to the entirety of what I'm about to say before you jump to a conclusion, where she said, the more that I heal, the less ambitious I become.
Mm.
And in my experience of reality, as I heal, I become more ambitious because what's happening is I'm in such a peaceful feeling my worth state. Again, I'm not saying I'm a fucking finished product. Like I know that life is going to throw stuff at me that's going to like, whatever. There's lessons to come. Fine. But I feel that as I settle more into my true essence, my worth, and I'm remembering my wholeness, I only want to quote unquote do and experience more because of like the wholeness that's in me, that it's like so overflowing that I'm essentially feeling the opposite of that quote, which is the more that I heal, the more ambitious I'm becoming,
Mm.
because it's overflowing and it's just purely from getting to do it, not because I have to do this or I'm trying to prove something. It's just because I want to, and it would be cool because I'm
Yeah.
here on earth to fuck around and see what happens.
Right. Yeah, that playful energy really comes alive. Yeah, I can see where people are coming from with that quote, but it's almost like a natural phase of the awakening where you're recognizing that would really resonate for people that are like, oh, I've been hustling and doing from the
Yes,
wrong energy.
totally.
And everything is neutral and
Right.
you apply a certain energy behind it. So someone who is associating, doing, and going out and moving matter from this energy of force and like a negative energy,
Right.
obviously that quote is going to be like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
becoming less ambitious because I'm remembering my wholeness and I actually don't need to do any of this.
Exactly.
Like you actually never
needed to
you
do
never
it.
needed to
Exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you get to just play and lean into what actually just really lights you up. And I know you can talk a lot about the individuality of what it is you're saying, because that's a part of your unique blueprint of what you
Right.
came here to do, is to really use that ambitious energy to help other people awaken and evolve and
Right.
ascend. So it makes sense for your
Yes.
blueprint.
Totally. Yeah.
No.
So that's me. How about you?
So when I feel into what a soul aligned life means, I just imagine us coming down here as these like really beautiful, unique, pure souls that come into these 3D bodies. And we go through this journey of being programmed where we forget our essence and we start to view ourselves through this very limiting lens. And we start to create these lives that are just reflections of survival patterns and maybe not remembering our wholeness. And I can think back to moments in my life where I was living a life that was the opposite of soul aligned because it was a reflection of an ego version of myself.
Mm.
And it was the things that you thought you needed to do or had to do to survive, or you were taught to live this way or get this job. And you're just living in this world where you feel like your soul is being muffled and kind of condensed in a way that feels really uncomfortable and just the opposite of freedom. And when I think about what a soul aligned life means, it's like getting to know the soul essence of who you are and going inward to feel that unique light and the codes that you carry, so that not only you can have the inner experience of feeling it and knowing it, which includes your gifts and what you came here to provide and the purpose that I believe we all have active on our heart and in the essence of our soul. When you are tapping into that and you are understanding it, which I feel like there's this sacred phase of going in and remembering and tapping into it, but then you start to actually let it be a way of being where you're taking actions where that energy is being expressed out to the world and to the reality field. Then reality starts to render in a way that is reflective of who you actually are. And that is when the shift happens in life, because then that soul aligned life, it just feels like a mirror into your inner existence. And that's when life feels so liberating. And the word freedom keeps coming to my mind because I feel like the opposite of a soul aligned life is living a life kind of, you're in a cage.
Yeah.
And it's not a cage that someone else put you in, it's a cage that your mind has put you in.
Right.
And that is why I'm so passionate about the subconscious work, because I feel like once you understand that you're creating your own cage, you're creating your own reality of shoulds and need tos and have tos, you free yourself and then you shift into a reality where you are free to be you. You're free to unleash your gifts. You're free to actually tap into a purpose. And then life feels so fucking magical because you're tapped into this frequency, but you're also so fulfilled with your everyday existence because you're understanding that the energy you're tapping into is one, healing the collective, but two, you get to then play like how you're alluding to, of just like, go fucking play, go take action in a way that lights up your soul. If you want to go sit on a beach and record videos and share with the world how beautiful this part of the world is, whatever, like that is a frequency that then is sent out where you're waking up every day and remembering the the impact that you hold on the collective and just on your own unique journey too.
Yeah.
I know you talk about a lot like how some souls come here to have more of an inner purpose experience and some have more of an
Right.
outer. And then there can be just a spectrum of in betweens. But I definitely feel like I came down here to help people free themselves. And I keep
Mm.
getting this visual of a bird in a cage because I actually just sat in a client call where a client was describing that this is how they feel in life. And it just awakened something in me where I was like, this is a part of my mission is to help
Yeah.
people fucking free themselves from the cage.
Mm-hmm.
And when you free yourself from the cage, life renders in a different way where you understand you get to move with flow, with freedom, with fun, with play, with abundance, with joy, with love. And that is when you wake up living a soul aligned life. And I agree with everything that you were saying, where it does not stay stagnant,
Mm.
or else you're not in a soul aligned life. A
Right.
soul aligned life is always going to grow with you, it's going to move with you, it's going to breathe with you, it's going to dance with you. And I think now, reflecting back on where I once was in my life, I just feel so knowing that I am exactly where I'm meant to
Mm.
be. And I think I just want to kind of highlight the importance to anyone who's feeling like they came here with some sort of mission, which I'm
Yeah.
going to say literally everyone that's listening to this, even if you don't know what that is right now, the feeling that you get when you wake up and you know that the thing you're about to do, whether it be get on this microphone, have a Zoom call with you, create an Instagram post,
Mm-hmm.
host a workshop in the Oasis, go on a client call, you are underneath the action being driven by this like deep why.
Yeah.
And it literally brings you to tears. Bella and I just sat in meditation for 10 minutes and dropped into a really emotional experience of connecting in with our deeper missions and our whys. And it just unleashed something within us that brought us to tears for a good like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that type of energy is something that I think everyone deserves to experience in life, whether it be through motherhood,
Mm.
a job, just simply being and living in freedom. And I think that is truly a soul aligned life.
Yeah. Wow. I think between our two answers, we perfectly rounded out the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Because I realized like my answer was very kind of the, I guess it's like the 3D, like just how it feels down here.
Right.
But everything you're saying, I was like, yeah. And that too, like you're literally living your soul
Yes.
mission and you are arranging. I think this is the other piece of it that maybe I was getting at is you've arranged your 3D reality through both inner creation and frequency proceeding form, but also just the mechanics of being a human.
Yeah,
That you
yeah.
just like arrange your life and your experiences and your impact and your relationships and all of it to fulfill and honor the mission that your soul has
Right.
coded into it. And that's what you just described so beautifully of like the mystical side of it.
Yeah.
Look at you getting all
Did
teared up.
you see my tears? I'm like, I can't tell if she can tell I'm crying.
Of
right
course
now.
I can.
I'm like trying to hold it back. Fuck.
No,
I just
truly,
get
it's-
literally so emotional when we talk about
I
mission and purpose.
know,
It
it's great.
just brings me to tears every time.
But that's it. This is it. It's both so expansive. It's emotional in the sense of that's I think what I was getting at with the aliveness.
Yeah.
Is you're just like, holy crap.
You're turned on.
You're turned the fuck on.
Yeah.
You are here. You're like in it.
Yeah.
And then that's what comes with the just idea of you be do have anything you want.
Right.
And that's mixes it all together of the mystical, the unseen, the soul essence, that which cannot be described, and also the nitty gritty of holding your cup of coffee and being like, this is it.
Life rocks.
Life rocks, dude.
I think I'm getting emotional. I know I'm getting emotional because this is more of like a part of my mission and purpose, but there's nothing that makes me feel more grief and sadness than like being in the presence of someone who hold it together has such a strong mission and they're not living it because they're hypnotized by fear and these illusions that are keeping them in a small reality. And I think that is definitely like a really strong energy that drives me
Yeah.
because there are so many people across this entire globe that have such a powerful mission that they came here to live through and to give. And seeing someone that may forget that and also just be trapped in something that feels so, yeah,
Yeah.
it brings me to tears, but I also can be brought to happy tears because it's
Right.
like, holy fuck, we're all going through this massive awakening, and you and I get to see people every single day, whether it be through our workshops, the community, like client calls, that are literally coming online to why they came here. And it's just holding that duality of like, yes, there's very much, this is why we do what we do. There's very much people that are still in that process of maybe like going through painful chapters of being very asleep to their purpose. But then it's also like we get to see, like, we literally attract in the people that are awakening to their purpose, their mission, their gifts. And that is so special that we get to like kind of spend our life in that energy of the awakening and the unchaining.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So now let's talk about how to do that. Here's how to get her done. Here's how to break the fucking spell.
Literally. This is how you take yourself out of the fucking cage. I am telling you.
Yes. Straight up. Exactly. So this is what we're doing today. Okay. Get your mother freaking notebook out. Tune in, tap in, and turn on, and get ready. Okay. What we're about to break down is the pillars that literally create exactly what we just described in every form and leaves room for your individual desires and dream and vision and your mission. And it really is important to point out that these pillars are what they are because of what you just said of breaking the literal spell and unbrainwashing humans so that we can so that more and more and more of us awaken to our superhuman potential. We remember who we are as a soul, our true essence. Like, it is not just like, I want a fancy car. And it's like, you want a fancy car because then the desire that's going to lead you there is going to awaken your soul essence. And you're going to be driving in your Forerunner with your dopamine in the back and being like, I'm infinite. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also like creating the heaven on earth. I just want to add that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay.
Shall we take her away? Phase 1?
Hit it.
All right, guys. So let's drop into the first kind of pillar of this. And this is really the foundation of every single thing that Bella and I do in our life lies on the foundation of what we are about to talk about now. There are a lot of people that move through life trying to go out there and create this dream life or this reality where they'll finally feel at peace. And there is such a key component that is missing from so many powerful souls' journey of aligning with a reality that feels like heaven on earth. And it is to remember that you literally are heaven within. You are a soul navigating this life. And one of the most important parts of this journey, when I reflect back on every single thing that I have done on this path and the transformation that I've experienced in my life, it has lied on the foundation of awakening to the soul that I am and feeling it and experiencing it and having that be the literal cement foundation on the house that I am building this entire reality from.
Yeah, exactly. This is the core because it's the remembering. It is, like you just said, the foundation. And this is really that part of the journey where you drop into that truth. You were never broken. You've never been behind. There was never anything lacking. And that is the foundation because it's there that all of the work often comes back to. Like every single, so many subconscious limitations are rooted in like the not enough story, the not worthy story, that I have to do this to prove myself. And all of that literally falls away every time we come back to the core remembering. And it's important to remember remembering. It's important. It's important to know that why this is kind of like the pillar that all the other pillars sit on is because of that piece where we've been conditioned to forget that power. And so when you unlock this piece, it kind of does like 80% of the work,
Oh,
especially in
yeah.
those early stages.
Yeah.
That's why it feels so crazy to have the awakening, like the one, like you know which one I'm talking
Right.
about. And it is the first unkinking of the hose that then you're like, oh my God.
Yes.
And you never, it is never the same after that. You are never the same after your first awakening. And then comes all the other like ones that
Right.
happen again and again and again. And the reason that this matters for manifestation, right? For creating the dream life, attracting it, is because we live in this vibratory reality, this frequential first realm, and your outer reality is always reflecting the inner one. And so it's
Right.
the basics of as within, so without, as above, so below, and the energy that you put out being what you draw back in.
Right.
And it's then what creates that effortless magnetism, that effortless ability to attract and to have the synchronicities come in, and all of it is stands on this one foundation of remembering who you truly are on the deepest level, that we aren't even doing justice to it because it's totally felt. It is totally like this ding, 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 ding alignment of your freaking chakras and your energy body
Right.
and all of it just going ding.
Right.
And you can't, it's felt. It's felt. And that's why it's the foundation. You always come back to it.
I don't think I would have been able to actually land in this reality without tapping into my infinite power and the remembering of that infinite power, because I think back to when I thought I had to like do this all on my own, but also I didn't understand that I could constantly tap into this energy that was infinite and powerful. I always felt so weak and small. And when it came to aligning myself with a life that I had the visions of, this part of my journey is when things started to shift, because
Mm.
now through the forgetting phases, I always had this core awakening and remembering within me of feeling into the soul of who I am.
Mhm.
And that has guided me through these inhales and exhales in my path in a way that I just think back and I can very clearly see the moments in my life where I hadn't yet tapped into this level of remembering.
Mhm.
And the reality I lived in was very reflective of that. And it's just so important because you kind of can see how difficult it would be to navigate this path of alignment without remembering that you're the soul and thinking of yourself as just this like very 3D
Yeah.
person,
Right.
because then you're constrained to the limitations of just a 3D person.
Yes, exactly. What came to mind was this is a very famous Alan Watts quote. It's in the song that's called It Starts Now by Blondish. And I literally, when I say it, I can hear like his voice saying it. But he starts to describe the frustration and the dissatisfaction with life. And he says, all of that can just fall away when you realize that you are this universe and you are creating it at every moment, and it starts now. And it's like, oh, I have chills because that is that awakening. What we're talking about, what we're alluding to, is when you feel in every fiber of your being, every ounce of your aura, that you are this universe and you are creating it at every moment.
Right.
That's your infinite power.
Yeah.
Life
Powerful.
changing.
Yeah. A true remembering.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Big one.
Big one.
We're like, so chew on that. Good luck. Okay. Pillar number 2. And we'll just add here, we're numbering these, but really the only one that is the true quote unquote number 1 is this foundation of the remembering. These other things that we're talking about, they really happen more in this dynamic dance, but we've ordered them sort of for a particular reason. Okay. Activating your intuition. Now, intuition is like so, at this point in the culture, very generalized. There's all this talk, like we know it's important, but we kind of don't always dip into and understand why. Like, first of all, what is it and why is it so important? Why can we not shut up about it, type of thing? And kind of a question for you to ponder is what your life would look like if you fully trusted yourself, fully trusted life, fully trusted your higher power, and you were not second guessing You weren't afraid of messing it up. You just felt this pure, consistent guidance from within. Even when there's no signpost in front of you, you still feel guided.
Mm.
Really let that land, because that is what intuition brings into you and why it creates this like backbone of co-creation, of aligned action, of fulfillment, of peace, of trust, of confidence. All of it really comes into the activation of your intuition. And take it away.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the fucking power of this is insanity. Because when I'm thinking about my personal path of aligning with my soul aligned reality and really manifesting those things that came from alignment, it was the ability to tune in to my internal GPS that was constantly course correcting me into a reality that felt like alignment. And I have this visual coming through of just these constant like fork in the roads where you're at a fork in the road and your ability to tune into your internal GPS and just take the route that feels good to you while also knowing that there is literally no wrong answer because the fork will always split off and then constantly course correct you back.
Yeah.
But there's a way that you can tap into your GPS almost as like a hack to drop into alignment right now.
Right.
Because I do believe that there is this inevitable process where you're always where you're meant to be, but you get to kind of tune into the internal GPS to be in realities where you're more so enjoying the feeling of alignment as opposed to the lesson.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like there is no wrong way to navigate life.
Exactly.
But it's kind of nice to just be in the realities where you're not fighting life and learning a
Exactly.
lesson all the time.
Yeah.
And you're just in the river flowing down it and tuned into the direction and the path that your soul is like, hey, it's going to feel really good to go this way. And when I say really good, I'm not meaning no fear, no resistance.
Right.
I'm meaning like expansion and
Yes.
growth really good.
Yeah.
And I just think back to like those moments where I really started listening to that, and the moment of us connecting, you reaching out to me, us doing FYOP, starting this podcast. Like when we started recording this episode today, I was getting flashbacks of our first episode in Joshua Tree. And I was like, damn, that was almost 2 years ago. And it just feels like such a pivotal moment. And I remember we said to each other that day, like, we don't even know. We don't even know. We're going to look back on this time and be like, wow, remember when we were recording our first episode? Like, yeah. And that was from those little choice points of tuning into the inner guidance system. And it has literally changed my fucking life. And ever since meeting you, you have taught me the level of intuition and connecting to body wisdom that has just taken it to a whole new level. So thank you. And it has been insanely powerful for me to learn that connection on an even deeper level.
Yeah, I had this really powerful visual come in as you were explaining that, how I feel like sometimes when we visualize our life path, we picture it as this very narrow, almost like string that's like floating, and you have to like teeter and you have to stay on it. And I was visualizing that actually your life path is more like this huge, very big channel, like a big fat river. And you can float all around it. Like the path, you actually can't, it's impossible to fall off the path. The path is so all encompassing. Like you are the path. That's the thing, right? Yeah. But what intuition is doing is it's like pinging you around. Imagine like that game with the, what's the game where you like pull back the balls and they like fling everywhere? Ping ball?
Ping ball.
No, wait. That's not what it's called. That's not what it's called. What's that game?
If you whatever, like the computer, you would play it on the desktop.
But you would like pull like a
like slingshots, and then
it's like
the ball goes ding, ding, ding,
a ping ball machine. I don't know. Anyway, point is your intuition is the thing that is urging you to the areas in time and space that almost hold an energetic code that you're meant to pick up. So kind of how we always gamify the experience of life, your intuition is ultimately within the context of your whole path, it is aligning you with the soul version of it.
Right.
So I feel like you can picture that the whole path, like you are the path itself, right? It's so broad, so wide, tall, like you can't ever fall off of it. There's bumpers on it too. Like you're on this path whether you like it or not.
Mhm.
And your intuition is just you listening to that internal GPS. It's the voice of the soul, and it's also just the voice that has access to more information
Right.
that you can't even logically understand.
Yes.
This is probably what you're alluding to too, with learning about the different voices that the body has, like when you use the human design system of the energy centers, and you're like, oh, the spleen actually gives you like survival based information that you will have no idea, but the spleen is tuned into that time and space energetic continuum that is giving you data about where to turn. And so it really is, like you're saying, it's you can't ever be off the path, but intuition is what makes the path soul aligned. It's what makes it actually feel really good. So you're
Right.
not constantly like up against the bumpers, being smacked around.
Yes.
You're like grooving through the whole context of your path.
It's almost like intuition is what is aligning you with your version of truth always.
Yeah.
And just another reason why I feel like this is so important is because of how the mind works and how the subconscious works with really trying to preserve us and create that safety from just these automatic programs where there are a lot of people navigating life strictly from the decision making of the programs, which is the shoulds, the needs to, the need to, the have tos. And connecting to your internal GPS is putting your soul in the front seat, because the more you make decisions from the need to, and the should, and the have to, your life becomes a manifestation of, oh, I had to do this, I should have done this, I needed to do this. And then you look around one day and you're like, what the fuck? So you'll always, again, learn and expand into any experience. But I do feel like the internal GPS connection is where you're connecting to your truth always. It's like the muscle testing where you're doing true false. Your intuition is your own true false meter for your decisions in life and your alignment.
Yes. Okay, hit us with phase 3.
Okay, so phase 3 is one of my favorites, because this is where you really start to get expanded by your desires. And phase 3 is all about really allowing yourself to claim what you already know about what you want, really claiming the desire. But through that, you're also getting clarity on what it is you desire. And with this, I have been on this whole journey of understanding that the desires that are coming from within my heart are actually the roadmap to my soul's evolution. And I have used them. I mean, we do this together with an Om too. This is what the way we like navigate life. We use our desires as the signposts and the directionals to how our soul is nudging us to evolve. And the claiming is something that is so essential, because when you claim and you get clarity on what it is your soul is calling you to draw in or expand into, there is a whole process that unravels where you're not just claiming a desire as something that you are drawing in, you're claiming it as your inevitable, as something that has literally already happened. And then your job is to align with that internally. And seeing your desires this way and having that process of getting the clarity on what's actually alive for you and then fully claiming them is where you start to render the reality, truly. And I know you have powerful stories of like claiming that you'll talk about here and there in workshops. And I think you've talked about it on podcasts too. But when you're half-assing life and you're almost in this on and off relationship with your desires, that is just not going to put you in a reality that is soul aligned. It's going to put you in a reality of being in a on and off relationship with your soul.
Literally, yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about relationship is a perfect analogy for this, because think about in a romantic relationship, even in a platonic, friendship, if you're like, I kind of want to be with you, but I'll see what
Yeah.
I'm not really sure
Yeah.
it's gonna work out. Like,
Right.
it's not very stable ground for then even the partner, the co-creator of this, to receive back, right? Like,
Right.
I would be like, do you want to be my friend or not? Like, do you want to hang out or not? Like,
Right.
I'm down to come over there, but like, you keep kind of pulling in and out. Like, I don't know.
Right. What's the deal?
Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it works with, yeah, that identity that you claim or the vision that you claim, and having that capital K, knowing that this is what you're meant to do, this is what is going to work out, and not that like it has to work out. You're just trusting that it will work out in whatever way it's meant to.
Right.
And it's beautiful too, because it has you, the clarity and the claiming process really has you own what it is you actually want, right? That desire that's yours and nobody else's, and not what they told you have to do. You need to do this, you should do. And it makes you stand on two very strong feet and a foundation of claiming that. And it's just perfect to say it as like you're essentially telling the universe that you're not half-assing this anymore. You're putting your full ass into it.
Right. Right.
And it also is very activating because it will also trigger any of the beliefs or stories or even things in your physical reality that are not in alignment with this new identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself is a huge manifestation, hack, process, tool, because it's one of the fastest ways to quantum leap, but also be shown what needs to be cleared out, because you all of a sudden, you wake up and you're like, oh, this habit or this thing in my life is not in resonance with the identity I just claimed for myself of being the creator, being the present mother, being whatever it is, being in a relationship that is so loving, and etc. So it really is essential. And it starts with those desires, like you're saying, because they're giving you that clue of what you're meant to embody, what you're meant to claim next.
Right. Yeah. And this is where in my own life, I've incorporated some like step by step processes on how to actually properly claim, where you're seeing the desire as almost the end product of the journey you're meant to dive into. Like what you're saying, the desire is representing some sort of internal transformation that the soul is nudging you to claim and to embody. And that's something that you do in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the desires are the literal codes to your personal evolution. And this is also where the aligned actions come in. This is
Mm-hmm.
why this is so important. When you're claiming that being, when you're claiming those desires, you then are in resonance with the aligned actions that you're meant to take. It's kind of like thinking back to the relationship analogy. When you're in that half-assed relationship, you're going to be getting the aligned actions that are also kind of half-assed.
Exactly.
And when I think to just the journey that you and I have been on and these incredible quantum leaps that we've made in our business and in life, and just feeling like we're living in this heaven on earth, it came through this claiming and the processes that we lean into with this part of our journey.
Mm.
And it's just crazy because like sometimes we are so in it and it just becomes a way of being that it's podcast episodes like this and really tapping into these methodologies that we live through, where we're seeing, holy crap, this is actually like a core pillar of how we function
Mm-hmm.
that is so life changing. And
Yeah.
it makes it so fulfilling and fun with life too. This is where we become like that playful
Yes.
creator.
Right. Yeah. And it takes that concept of it's already done to a whole new level,
Right.
because you're like, oh, it's literally already done, because it's a desire, which means it must be something that's meant for me and something that already exists in some timeline. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's already done. I'm just going to be this person now and experience it now.
Right. Right. So you want to kick us off with phase 4?
Yes. So here's the deal. Okay. There is a storehouse of gold in your DNA. It's in your very essence. It's in your aura. And the trick here is to consider that those parts of you that you think are wrong or bad, or you try to hide them, or you're ashamed of them, those actually hold the key to everything you are here to create. And this is likely a concept that maybe you pick up on it in episodes we talk about, but it really has kind of repetition in a way to really let that land. And so just really sit with this and feel into this with, if you could listen with your whole body, this is what you are doing at this point. Okay. This is the pillar of unlocking the codes of your DNA. And what this means is starting to live a life and align your personal processes. Like, take the concept of personal development, and now you are doing it from this place where you're standing on the foundation that you are a superhuman, right? What you would consider to be superpowers and to be extra special and genius, you fully have coded into you. And I'm saying coded into you because it means it's already there. And it just takes these subtle tweaks, the journey of your becoming, of your desires, of contemplation, of reflection, of subconscious healing, of being creative, all of it, to just simply let more light shine through them and let these things blossom and unfold like a flower. And it is in this pillar of unlocking the DNA codes, right? Of unveiling your unique frequency, that you start to literally feel like your body and your aura are almost growing and becoming more filled with light, is really the best way to describe it. And it has never been about becoming someone new. It has never been about you contorting yourself into, I should be like this and I should be like that. No, this is literally looking at a mirror and looking at yourself and being like, holy crap, I am the divine in physical form. Divinity is in me. It's coded into my DNA. If you're familiar with Greg Braden's work, he talks about how if you literally decode human DNA, it writes out divinity, or it says something like divinity, like God in the DNA, something like that. Do you know what it is
God
specifically?
eternal within the body.
Yes. And to hear this can at first be a little bit daunting or triggering or confusing, especially when we are not remembering our true essence. So it's like, imagine that pillar, that foundation of remembering our true essence. This is exploring the true essence to the deepest degree possible, where by individuating, by you exploring your POV of consciousness that has come here to earth, you understand your true essence and you understand who you are as the universe expressed. And it sounds so mystical that you're like, okay, well, what does that look like? It's supposed to be mystical because it's not an overnight thing where you just like look up your human design and your Gene Keys profile and you like read it once, you're like, okay, done. No. This is a very steady unfolding process. There are moments where you have huge bursts and huge shifts in your consciousness and in your confidence and in the way you express yourself. But the core of this has a focus on first embracing and fully accepting all parts of you, which means the shadows, the things that you think are wrong or shameful or not okay, that you only express at home, right? And you never want your friends to know this about you. Those things are the gateway, and where there is a literal nugget, like a gold mine diamond thingamabob. This is a gold diamond that's in there. And as soon as you shine the light of love on it, it blossoms. So I want to let you jump in here because I think I really enjoy speaking about this in a very mystical way, because it is truly meant to enliven that core remembering of, you realize, okay, I am the universe. And then you go, okay, but how does my iteration of the universe and consciousness want to play here? And that's what you're unlocking in your codes and your DNA.
Yeah. I feel like this pillar, when you think back to what I was describing at the beginning of the episode of what a soul aligned life is, there was something I said that really connects into this pillar. And it was, you get to know who you are as a soul and you feel the essence of what makes you unique and special. And then you get to share that outward. Right. And then reality will start to reflect that. And essentially what's happening with this pillar of tapping into your unique DNA, your codes, the way that your DNA wants to be expressed, is looking at the way you currently move through life and the shadows and the discomfort and the programs and the codes that are popping up, that those are the doorways to feeling into more of who you are as a soul. And it is so kind of like heartbreaking to see that we live in this world where shadows and just ways of being can be thrown into a corner.
Mm.
And someone can start to feel like there's something wrong with them. I'm broken. This must be a defect. And I truly believe that there are no mistakes here.
Mhm.
And we are all these divinely created creatures. And the way that someone is expressing themselves, maybe through a shadow, what this pillar is really going in on is, what if it's just the consciousness that is traveling through that way of being that gets to be expanded, and more light is allowed in to
Mhm.
that aspect of the self. And then the expression of that takes form in a way that feels soul aligned.
Mm.
And when I think just to my journey, there have been so many moments of me having this like full blown realization of how unique my own codes are that make me so gifted at what I do with the healing work that I do. And when someone is in my presence as a client or a friend, and I think about your unique codes and what you do and how that is, when you understand that and you're able to kind of see at face value
Mm.
what it is you contribute with your energy and your way of being and just like your human vessel, that is when your confidence increases and you get to almost claim who you are as a being
Mm.
and have fun individuating yourself as this unique being that came down here to experience your sliver of consciousness in a specific way. I mean, I'm saying your consciousness, but you are the
Right.
consciousness.
Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying. But this is where the soul comes alive to a new freaking level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is when you really start to almost pick out your superhero gear of like,
Mhm.
am I going to be someone who flies? Am I going to be the one that turns like invisible or time
Mhm.
travels? And you're just like putting on all this different gear that then you get to go out and be like, this is me, world. And it's not to say you need to be in like a career path where you're gifting your services to clients. This can be something, just a way of being and a way
Yeah.
of living.
100%. Yeah, what's beautiful about this, if someone is kind of thinking to themselves, okay, how do I unlock my DNA codes? How do I really step into this essence that you're talking about? And it's really where you just realize that you and your individuality and your quirks and your weirdness and all of your shadows and everything is the strategy. So it means you are becoming your own muse. You're becoming your own inspiration. You're becoming your own catalyst for growth and for your next chapter. And it's just turning that attention away from the rules and the status quo, what this person is doing, what that person's doing. It's shutting it all out and being like, you know what? There's something in me here that is the answer. And that, this really, again, it builds on the foundation. It also adds to the intuitive piece, it adds to the clarity of the claiming, and it really reorients your experience to be so in tune with your own wisdom and your own way of doing things. And that is what reveals magnetism. That is what makes the journey so enjoyable too, because you're meant to be individuated. Like we were, formed in this way because we're meant to have these unique things of how we do, how we function, right? And what you can do here is really turn inward, but even more to a degree that you're like an investigator about yourself with a capital S. And this can look like just in meditation, you are tuning into what's the inner voice have to say today. Like you're just using yourself as the roadmap, as the oracle. You're your own oracle. That's the energy that this is really giving and inviting you into.
Mm, so good. So now this next pillar is all about awakening to the co-creator that you are. And when you think about creating this soul aligned life, this pillar is where you start to understand that it is literally rendered from within. And this is where you start to reclaim your power in a new way by understanding how all of this comes to be. And it is a frequency first reality that we live in. And when you have a mission coming alive in your heart, or even a desire and you're claiming it, this is the part of the process where you're no longer outsourcing your power to something out there that needs to happen in order for that to be. You're understanding that this is all an inner game, that this is all an inner experience, and that life will reflect back out to you. It will reflect to you what you have tapped into within. So, this is where the dream really becomes something that is truly inevitable.
Mm.
And you're able to have like a vision and understand that a part of why your soul came down here is to learn how to create. If you are the painter and your actions and your energy are the paint and the paintbrush, reality is your canvas. And a part of why you came down here is to learn how to play in this infinite realm from the inside out. And this is where you take your creator abilities to a whole new freaking level, because you're understanding it is the balance of the masculine and the feminine. It's the balance of the action and the energy, the being and the doing.
Mm.
And when you're awakening that co-creator within, you have so much fun because you start to see those like synchronicities pop up in your life where you're like, holy crap, I literally fucking manifested that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the magical part of the ride where you're just awakening to the power you hold to render reality and to play with the reality field.
Yeah, it's very rooted in fun and play. And I also think this just comes with that feeling of truly not being alone in this. And
Yes.
I think I said this, I can't remember where I said this on a workshop or on a previous episode, but that started to feel like the line is blurred between what is me and what is not, which is really the truth because it's all one. But when you're in this co-creator state, it really feels like there's it's like an infinity loop that's just like you put an
Right.
energy out and it comes in, but you also like receive an inspiration from out there. And then you're like, I thought of that and then I saw it later, but I was probably just tapped into the infinite field of information. And I just predicted it and I'm psychic and da da da. And you're just like in this very fluid dance with life. And that's what really, this is like master manifestation level. What people probably associate it with is you're seeing that real time evidence of the inner work you're doing, the frequency that you're setting, and then the thing that life shows you, and the thing that that person says randomly, and how it was the answer to the question you had. And it's very much flow state, wu wei, being in this very divine held dance. And that's where, too, I think the ability to hold the duality, the paradox. I feel like we're interchanging those, and that's not correct, but I think people understand what we mean.
It's paradox.
Paradox. Yeah. The paradox of in the now moment where is where these things drop in, and you're also that excitement of seeing, ooh, like how's it going to play out? Like, ooh, what if it goes this way? Or, oh my gosh, I set this intention. Let's see how it actually ends up landing in my sphere.
Right.
And it's all kind of alluding to, again, this foundation of knowing that a lot of almost all of life of what is happening is really that downstream effect of the core state that you're in. So the more that you are focused on that frequency, on that cultivation of inner love and abundance and joy, they create that ripple that then is going to come back to you kind of like a boomerang.
And then you take the actions from that energy.
Exactly. And then that's why it becomes this very fluid,
Like
just
dance.
total way of being that you're not even, the dance, because when you're in the most flowing state of dance, there's really no separation between you and the music. And you're almost sort of like predicting the next note that's going to happen because you're so tuned into it. And that's what it feels like to be co-creating with life itself.
You like sink into the reality field.
Yes.
And like, I'm imagining almost as if the sea is this beautiful, energetic web. And what this pillar is inviting us into that you and I do so well is you become one with the web and you're tuned into when the waves are forming. And that's like the action and the inhale and the exhale. And you're really aligning. It ties into the intuition pillar too, because then you're tuning into the intuitive hits and you're flowing in life in that way. And that's when it feels just like this really yummy dance with your reality field. And you're not so much in the mind trying to figure it out.
Right.
That
Exactly.
I feel like I've been kind of painting the difference between what like the 3D human mind would want us to do and what the soul guides us to do. And when we are creating and drawing something into our life or rendering it from the inside out, I feel like the 3D mind would really keep you up in the logic of trying to map it out and figure it out. And playing with your reality field is where logic kind of takes its proper place.
Yeah.
And then you're more so connecting with the infinite power that you hold when you're taking actions and living in this limitless potential world, a world of limitless potentials. And it's just like it inspires different actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. The final pillar of this, which again is kind of funny because it's here's the final thing, but it becomes then another foundation. And this is something we like to call being in a state of arrival, the arrival. And think about, think about a vacation that you planned and you are on the way there and you're on the plane and then you literally land and you arrive at the vacation. You're like, oh my God, we're on vacation. Amazing, cool, And you're like, I went on the journey, I bought the tickets, I survived the turbulence, we're here. Woo, now we get to party. The arrival state in your life is when you sink into the concept that you really are no longer striving from lack, striving to fill something. You're not even becoming anything different. You're more revealing what's already there. And that concept of the dream life, of the vision, you are in it. And what you're doing now is just holding it. And you're also holding that paradox of living the dream every day and also knowing that more iterations and different ways of form and reality are going to drop in along this whole journey. And the arrival is the stabilizing. It's the, oh, okay, like I'm good. This is good. Life is good. I know who I am. I'm acting on my intuition. I'm claiming my vision. Oh, I get a new vision that drops in. Okay, claiming that. You're working with your shadows and you're just in that full on co creation with your soul, with the universe. And you just get to be in this version. You just get to be in it. You're in it. You've arrived, but also you're going to have a next arrival point. But the point is that this frequency really takes over your whole being and becomes another foundation where I really think the biggest piece here is just no longer manifesting from lack or I have to do this, right? Of course, it's like that can come up. The shadows can come up where that energy becomes present again. But you really feel the overall blanket over your life is one of, I have arrived.
Right. And this is a very important part because this is where the subconscious starts to hold the new identity. Because when you're in that constant state of I've arrived, you're instilling the identity of what it is you're expanding into instead of constantly being in the identity of not being there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is where the nervous system work comes into play, where I definitely have experienced in my life moments where I wasn't really aware of this arrival energy, where you're constantly like expanding and landing into the present moment. And I found myself self sabotaging and kind of almost relapsing in a way with an old identity. And it's really important to understand this process of what happens in this arrival where your nervous system is taking on more of a higher frequency, more energy, and that process can feel very threatening to the mind. So it's just that constant settling into that allows that nervous system expansion, and you can actually hold what it is you're calling in. You can hold the abundance, you can hold the relationship.
Right.
And I think it is a foundation, just like step one. It's not really a step, but pillar one. Because without this, it's like you get into the soul aligned reality and then it kind of,
Yes.
you're back.
Yeah. I feel like this pillar is quite physical too. It's very lower 3 chakras and being like, okay, this is who I am now.
Right.
And this is my life. This is my baseline of normalizing the miracles, normalizing it. Just, it's like when we have that fallacy of looking at someone who has achieved these things and we put them up on a pedestal and we're like, oh, when I get to be like that. And you're just realizing that you can extract that energy and have it land in your vessel to a degree where it's like baked in there now.
Embodiment.
Embodiment.
It's true
Exactly.
embodiment. Yeah.
Right? It's like I'm having a baking analogy going through where it's like you added vanilla into the cake, like it's in the cake.
Right.
It's in there. You're in it. You're the cake. The vanilla is the
Yeah.
frequency.
You're like
It's in
taking
there.
this and bringing it. I'm saying this, but if you guys are seeing me, if you're not seeing me, I'm pointing to the upper 3 chakras, the crown, and just like the third eye, and really bringing it down into the cells of your body.
Yes.
And it's like the arrival that the concept is now just who you be.
Yes. And that's what makes it feel so stable. It makes it feel
Right.
like that foundation of peace and fulfillment and satisfaction. And it's beautiful too, because what you pointed out about the self-sabotage, that's really where you are invited to expand what you can hold so that it becomes your new baseline. And what's beautiful about then what we're saying with this paradox is you can shift your baseline a bunch of times. You can be like, oh, I've arrived in this baseline. And then you're going to get
always shifting your
exactly.
baseline, yeah.
And then you get a new desire and a new dream and a new vision. You're like, ooh, okay. And then you're going through all these pillars again, and it becomes this very fluid, holistic cycle happening all the time and new points of arrival. And then you're in that. And yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So I really want to drop us in now just to the reason why we're so freaking passionate about this, because I just think back to the journey that we have both been on. And I want you guys, the listeners, to really drop into the power behind what it is we have just shared in this episode. There is a literal heaven on earth that renders before your eyes when you remember your soul essence and you tap into that and you reflect that outward and you run through all these beautiful pillars that we just tapped into. And it lights me the F up to think about a world where there are people following the nudges within and listening to the callings of their heart and soul. And if you're listening to this now, you are a person that is resonating with this word for a very specific reason. And I want you to tune into what really stood out for you with this, because I can just reflect and think about those times where I was tuned into a podcast or listening to someone share their process and their journey, and it transformed my life. And this is why I'm so passionate, and we're so passionate about creating these like systems and these approaches to life that literally alter your DNA
Straight up.
and change the world that you live in and not the world everyone lives in. So, yeah, I definitely want you to share a little bit more about why you feel just so much passion behind this and what someone can expect in their life when they align with this.
Yeah. I mean, the personal why and excitement, like you're saying, behind this is I just know that, like you're saying, anyone listening to this and you've incarnated onto earth, you are literally a superhuman. You are magical and divine. And to put it just colloquially, like you're just fucking dope and cool. And you have so much beauty and radiance and joy to pour out from you. And it's actually your natural state. And I feel fired up because, like you're saying, the vision of a world with more and more humans that are tapped into this, that is a world that we're ready for and that is already unfolding. And personally speaking, I've shared with you that I have this feeling that this might be my like last round on earth, which I'm going to try to not get emotional. Every fucking time I bring it up, I want to cry. And I'm saying that like my soul it's probably going to be made to go somewhere else. And I'm like, I don't want to leave yet. But because of that, I have this feeling of it's time for Earth and for millions and millions of people to truly tap into what's possible here. And for you listening to wake up every day with your full life force, fully flowing, uninhibited, completely liberated. And it's not even just about you. Like the ripple that will take place from that is going to change the literal fabric of Earth itself. And I get so excited. There's a reason why it makes us both emotional to see people standing in their power and also like doing what they love and being the being that they came here to be and living as a walking embodiment of the truth of their soul essence of being the universe incarnated into human form. And I just know that this round on Earth is very important and we're here for a specific reason. And it's just time to unlock this heaven on earth and also for individuals to wake up to their genius and their power because that shit fucking heals.
Yeah.
It heals, it transcends, it changes the very fabric of what we even consider reality to be.
Right.
And I forget your original question, but I feel very fired up about that also because truly the mission that's coming from my soul is I'm like,
yeah,
this might be our last round, bitch. We gotta fucking
Yeah.
get people on the program.
Yeah.
Get with the program.
literally. Yeah. And I just want to pass a little special message to anyone who signed up for the portal, which is our 6-month reality shifting experience that is literally going to take you through all of these beautiful pillars that are the core of how we live. And anyone who is going to sign up, you have landed in this reality where this is your year to go all in a way that you have yet to do that. And I have like full body chills right now, even just thinking about bringing other people through these pillars that we have embodied in our own life and being able to see a soul come back online and turn on their gifts and activate their mission. And if you are someone who signed up for the portal, which we start on May 7th, so if you guys are feeling into this and resonating, we'll leave the link below and you can check out if this is a portal and a container that your soul is calling you into, because we're definitely calling in specific souls who are feeling like 2025 is a year of endings and beginnings for them. And when I feel into the beings that have already signed up and the beings that are to sign up, there is this commitment energy that lights me the F up. And I keep seeing the kinds of people we're attracting into this container. And it's the beings who just have that flickering flame within them and that inner knowing that I came here for a life of freaking magic. And you guys who are going to go on this journey with us, just buckle up. Buckle the F up. Because your life is about to have a turning point, a huge turning point. And I keep talking about this sacred fork in the road because there is a sacred fork in the road for so many people right now. And every time I see like someone come into the portal, I see like the email of a sign up come through. I'm like, they fucking leaned in. Yeah. And that feels incredible. And it feels like we are really activating our purpose in a new way because we're leading in a new way. And my soul's like, fuck yeah, go bitches.
Yes, truly. Amen. You said it perfectly. Yeah, this is just going to be, like you said, the experience that changes the course of your life forever. And everything we just laid out is exactly what is going to unfold. And I'm so excited for those of you that are in this right now and are saying yes, like Nikki just expressed about you saw the fork in the road, you felt it, and you said, yep, we are going in.
Get ready for a quantum leap, baby. That's all I can say.
Yes. Oh, and the last quick note is if you are going to sign up, also make sure you check if you want to add on the retreat. There's limited spots to that, but just make sure you check that out as well, because there is an optional add-on of a retreat that happens at the end of the 6-month experience.
Which is going to be not so.
Yes, truly. Amazing. Okay, thank you guys for listening. We love you so much. Let us know which pillar, which phase of this really spoke to you, what stood out to you in this conversation. And congratulations on being a soul that chose to say yes to itself, because that's who you are if you're here listening to this. So
happy awakening.
Happy awakening. Bye.
Bye.